you're going to hear the real stuff from them. I'm just going to tell you the scientific fluff. But it's not going to be as scientific as what you've heard from the other speakers. I'm going to dumb it down because that's all I know. So I'm going to tell you from my level as a kind of a nutritional educator about the whole cellular biology and cellular perspective of breast cancer. One of the gentlemen, one of the doctors that did the greatest work on this is Bruce Lipton. How many people have read Bruce Lipton's work? I knew that was going to be the case. The Biology of Belief. And what Dr. Lipton did, which was really interesting 20 or 30 years ago when he started this, because this was a completely new field, is he would put a cell in a petri dish. And then he'd put some food in one side of that petri dish. And guess what the cell would do? Move towards the food. Then he'd put some toxic in, some toxic substance. Guess what the membrane did? Got away from it. Now, he went really freaky on us. He had an argument on the other side of the petri dish. And guess what the cells did? Oh, we don't like that. And then he had somebody meditate and pray and sing nicely. And guess what the cells did? Ooh. If that doesn't explain everything that all the speakers have been talking about today, I don't know what does. The cells have a brain. So look at the list that I've given you on the handout of all the things that can be cellular stressors. You've heard about them, the foods, the toxins, the stress, but look at them. Menstrual periods cause stress. Being overweight, prescription meds, bras cause stress. Oral contraceptives, electromagnetic radiation, unbalanced pH, even night shift work. These are all things that cause stress to the cell. And that's going to become very important in a minute when we talk about thermography and how thermography works to find these cells when they're stressed before they become cancerous.
I am Donna Tomey, certified clinical thermographer, and I am here to tell you somewhat about thermography. Dr. Benz said a lot, so that's great. And a little bit of my own story with the hope that it will encourage all of you to do thermography. Thermography is thermal imaging, so as Dr. Benz said, there's no compression, there is no radiation, and it's simply designed to detect the abnormal changes in the vascular changes in your breast tissue that must occur in order to fuel tumor growth. Every tumor, whether it's malignant or benign, must require and create its own separate blood supply, its own network of blood vessels to feed and nourish that tumor. And if your immune system continues to be compromised, those cancer cells will double every 90 days. This process is called angiogenesis, and I think we've heard it a few times here today in the last couple days. That process begins at about 256 cancer cells and typically occurs about 8 to 10 years before that tumor is large enough to be detected with a mammogram, or when you have over 4 billion cancer cells.
Back in 2004, prior to my diagnosis of cancer, I was the perfect patient that every conventional doctor would love. Every year, once a year, I would get a physical. Every August around my birthday, I would get a mammogram. I mean, I did everything you're supposed to do according to convention. But the truth of the matter is that had I known about thermography, I mean, I could have probably prevented myself from having lumpectomy, chemotherapy, radiation, and then I also did a year of Herceptin. But I mean, I went through all that, and I'm not sorry I did. It is what it is. But thermography is like amazing because, you know, here, cancer probably started for me in my 20s, and had I known about thermography, I probably could have prevented myself from going through all of that and harming my body that way. And just as a sidebar, I still see an oncologist because I was part of a clinical study for Herceptin. And I remember a few years ago, before I ever had the thermography, I said to him, what do you think about thermography? Because like he had mentioned, I've been reading everything. And he said, Susan, don't even bother. Mammography is still the gold standard of diagnostic testing for cancer of the breast.